Hey there, Stampers! H. Jane Harrington here, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Today I have for you a paper pumpkin alternative. This one is geared toward more intermediate crafters. Not that beginners can't do this, it's a very easy project, but beginners may not have all the tools you need, namely the Big Shot. I have a Sizzix Big Shot. If you have any kind of die cutting machine, then this project is for you, because we'll be using our die cut machine to cut out our dies. So let me see, this one here is the card that came in the kit. It's a beautiful card, I love it, but we're going to do something completely different. We're going to be making this card. You'll notice that the butterfly is going to hold our card shut with this white cord. You unwrap your cord, kind of like at the office when you put, a memo in the envelope that gets bound shut. So this is kind of that idea. So I'm going to put this card aside because we don't need that. What you're going to need to have, these are your materials. So we need your Paper Pumpkin April 2020 kit. It is called My Wonderful Family. So get your kit out. You're going to need a piece of soft seafoam that is cut 2 inches by 4 1/4 inches. You'll also need a piece of Pool Party that is also cut 2 inches by 4 1/4 inches. These are all Stampin' Up! Exclusive colors, and their cardstock is awesome. It is superior, it's thick and wonderful, it's the best quality you're ever going to find. So these are exclusive colors. Go ahead and cut those pieces 2 inches by 4 1/4 inches for both of those colors. Now you'll notice I went ahead in the interest of time and I took the liberty of cutting the using the die cuts to cut the edges. So I used the Ornate Borders dies to cut out this border here and this border here. Now don't throw these extras away. You're going to want to hold on to these extras because we're going to use them in the project. If you find you don't have enough, you may need to cut 2 just to get these little extra pieces, and you can put the other one aside for another project. But you'll need at least 3 of these little pieces that come out of this die cut. Okay, so go ahead and get your die cuts ready. You also need to go ahead and cut out an oval in Whisper White, and you will also need an offset to fit behind the oval in shaded Spruce. I used the layering ovals dies, but you can use whatever you have. If you don't have an oval, if you have maybe a punch that's a circle, that's fine. Whatever's going to fit the stamped sentiment that you want to use is what you need. But you need a piece of Whisper White for your sentiment, and you need an offset behind it in shaded Spruce. So use what you have. Okay, the other thing you're going to need is this is some of our white cord. I believe it's retired now. You can use any cord you want. You can use any color you want, but I'm going to particularly use the white today. And I cut it approximately 48 inches long. You need a mini brad, and you also need the Take Your Pick tool or a paper piercer. Now our Take Your Pick tool is awesome because you'll notice it has a paper piercer on this side and a spatula on this side. You just slide it right in, and it's a spatula for scraping up things or helping you lift little pieces. On this side, this is going to help you, pick up little embellishments and things for easy placing. So this is a wonderful little tool. It's only $10. It's a good deal. You also need your paper pierce mat. And let's see, I told you about the Ornate Borders dies, your Layered Ovals dies, and I used the Perfectly Framed stamp set. You can use whatever set you want. You just need to have some stamped sentiment. So I used Perfectly Framed. It's right there. So that's what you need. So let's kick this off. I'm going to put my box aside. The thing you need to get out of your box first of all is get out this piece here and the envelope that matches. Now you can put the envelope aside. We don't need that right now. So you'll notice this piece is pre-printed, And they scored it, but they did not fold it because they wanted it to fit in the box. So we're going to go ahead and fold that piece. But look, oh, it pops up, right? So if you have a bone folder, go ahead and grab that out. We're going to just run that bone folder over the edge and see, it's going to make it stick down more. It doesn't pop out nearly as much. And I'll go ahead and do it on the other side. You can use your fingernail for this, or a popsicle stick, or a ruler, something soft though that it's not going to damage your cardstock. So now we're ready to go with this card. So here's what our project looks like. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the borders to the card. Okay, this is really simple, and you'll notice I cut this a little bit too long, so no problem. We're just going to grab our paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim it down to size. Don't have to trim too much off. There we go. Perfect. Much better. Okay, so I cut my paper down. It was a little bit too long, and so I'm going to take this edge right here, and I'm going to adhere it to this flap, to the green flap. Okay, so here I'm just going to grab my glue, and I'm going to, I like to use the silicone mat when I glue things. I put it in my closet the other day, and then I remembered I wanted to get it out. This is great because if your glue bleeds out and it gets on the mat, it's easy to wipe it up. The silicone mat doesn't hold the glue. It's great. Okay, so I'm going to line this up where I want it, right about there. And I'm just going to press that down. And that is going to give me a beautiful little border. And you'll notice it's a little bit long over here, no problem. Sometimes that happens, and you can just take your paper snips and trim the edge like that. Easy peasy, much better. All right, so there's the first part. The second part of the border is this piece, but we're not going to glue it on here. We're going to adhere this to this flap with the printing right on this side, okay? Now, what I did, the little trick I did, I'm going to line this up right about there. That's where I'm going to want to glue that. But you'll notice it hangs over the edge a bit. To make sure that when I lift this up that I'm going to glue it down where I want it, I'm going to just take a little pencil, make a tiny little mark on that side there, and that way I know exactly where to line it up next time. I can always erase that mark in a minute. The other thing I want to do is I don't want the glue to go past this because we don't want to glue our card shut. So I'm just going to kind of get a feel for where the end of the glue is going to go. I just use my finger. I'm going to make a mark there. So I don't want any glue past that. All my glue is going to go on this edge. So I'm going to grab that silicone mat again. Now I'm just going to put a thin line of glue right there, a little bit in here. Now, how do we get these glued down? There's a few different ways. One way is to use our fine tip glue pen. It has a very thin little precision tip, and it lets you get into those little small areas there, like that. But sometimes you can still get glue that bleeds over the side. So to prevent that, this is what we're going to do. Whoops, drop that. I'm going to take some of my glue and I'm just going to put it onto my silicone mat. This is just a quick and easy way to do it. I'm going to grab a Stampin' sponge and I'm going to dab the sponge onto the glue. And I'm going to dab that glue right here all over this, because what's going to happen is the glue is not going to be super thick and it's not going to bleed out the edges when I adhere it down. You see? I actually had a little bit of ink on that. I shouldn't have used that, but that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. So, moving that aside, here we go. I'm going to take my card again and I'm going to adhere. Whoops, I shouldn't touch that with my fingers, should I? Here we go. I'm just gluing these down, pressing them down with my fingers, and there we go. Beautiful, and see, it's adhered, it's sticking, and look, there's no glue bleeding out those sides. So that's a neat little trick. And then I'm just going to take my eraser, that pencil mark we made, I'm just going to erase that. No harm, no foul. And if you find that, you know, oh no, I messed that up, you can always put a sentiment inside here by cutting a piece of cardstock that fits in here and stamping onto the cardstock and gluing that down. You know, there's all kinds of little tricks when you're a crafter that you learn when you make a mistake or when you mess up, and that is okay. So we've got this part of our card done. So here it's going to open up like this. Now we can send this as a card. Something else you might want to do instead is you might want to put something inside here. Say you want to send it as a little gift. Maybe you could get a little packet of hot chocolate and glue that right in here and stick it in so when you send it, it's a little gift. You could also put some tea bags in there. Now, if there's too much bulk, what you can do is you can score another line maybe right in here, pretty close, right in, you know, maybe 1/8 of an inch, to give when it folds it gives it more bulk and depth so that it's not going to bow the card out when you send it. You don't have to put anything in here. You could just send this as a regular card as well. Okay, moving on. So we've got that part. The next thing we need to do is we need to get our paper pumpkin out because I'm just throwing my stuff in here, strewn about I'm going to grab one of my butterflies. So there's a butterfly. Move that kit aside. So, little Mr. Butterfly here is what's going to hold the card shut. So I'm grabbing my Stampin' Pierce mat and my butterfly and my little piercer tool. If you don't have this tool, we also have a paper piercer that's only $4. Or if you don't have either one of those and you want to do this right away, go grab just, you know, a real big thick needle or something. That'll work too. So I'm using my Stampin' Pierce mat underneath. I'm taking my piercing tool and just I'm holding the wings down and putting a hole in Mr. Butterfly. And in that hole, we're going to stick the brad, like so. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our card and we're just going to take this green flap and find about the middle, right about in there, and we're going to use our tool to put a deep, thick hole right in the tool, or with the tool in the card. Okay, so Mr. Butterfly with the brad is going to stick right in there like so, and you're going to just open the brad clips up and that's going to hold it in place. If you don't like that that's exposed, that's okay. You can cover that up with another piece of cardstock, no problem. But it doesn't bother me so much. So take your butterfly's wings, bend them up just a bit because you want it to look like it's fluttering, but you also want to be able to put your cord behind it, which is the next step. That's what we're going to do now. So take your cord of whatever kind or color you want. Linen thread would work beautifully for this as well. So I'm going to hang this piece about that long. Okay. Now I'm going to start wrapping it about 2 to 3 times around the butterfly. Might be a little tricky trying to get it up underneath its little butt there, but that's okay. You'll get it. It doesn't take too long. And so we're going to wrap it once, twice, how about maybe one more time. Kind of wrap it tight, kind of pull tight so that it gets real close to the brad, okay? And it's not going to go anywhere. So there we go. Now our cord is wrapped, and look there, that's not going anywhere. So this is the part where we're going to just wrap it around the card 1 time, 2 times, 3 is the charm. There we go. And so now I'm going to wrap it around the top of the butterfly once, twice, and one more time for good measure. There we go. That's beautiful. Look at that. So that's going to hold our card shut. Now, notice I cut the string a little too long. That's okay. I'm going to trim it right about there. I'm going to leave those a little bit uneven, because I kind of like uneven. I'll put that extra aside because I can always use that in another project. Always recycle your stuff. My kids always say, Mom, you keep weird things. Well, because I'm going to use them somewhere else someday, right? Okay, so that's the base of the card. The last thing we have to do is our little sentiment focal point. So go ahead and grab your Stampin' Pierce mat again. And this is where we are going to stamp. Now, I'm going to take the You Make Me Happy stamp. And this is where you can use, you know, use your opinion about what color you want. I'm using soft Seafoam. I'm going to pop this puppy open. If you want a darker stamp color, you can stamp it darker in a different color if you want. I just like the soft Seafoam because I thought it kind of plays 1, 2, it would be the third element. And I kind of like things in threes. So, taking my Whisper White oval, and I'm stamping right down, put a moderate amount of pressure, lift up, and it's a beautifully inked stamp. I'll put those aside. And so now I'm going to adhere my oval, onto the offset, like so. Beautiful. Don't you love it? Okay, so now it's ready to go. I'm going to tell you a little trick because I messed up earlier. When I made my first one of these, I kind of made a boo-boo. But as you know, in the crafting world, we learn from our boo-boos. So I'm going to teach you what not to do. What we're going to do is we're going to take our dimensionals, Stampin' Dimensionals. Some came in your kit. And so at the top of this, okay, which is really the bottom because I flipped it upside down, I'm going to put 2 dimensionals there. When I first made this card, I had 2 dimensionals down here too. And what happened was when I put it down, it basically fixed these in place. And when I tried to unwrap the card, I couldn't. So this is the trick here. Only use 2. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. So I peeled the backing off of those, and I'm just going to kind of overlap it right about there, keeping the dimensionals above the cord. And that way, when you wrap it or unwrap it, it's going to go underneath. Now, if you need to put another dimensional here at the end, that's fine. But you don't want to go underneath the cord because then it makes it a lot harder to unwrap that. So there we go. The last thing we need are just our little embellishments. So remember those little extra pieces I told you about? We're going to take those real quick. I'm going to grab this, this little silicone mat again. I'm flipping the pieces over. We don't want a lot of glue on these. We only want it at the ends. So I'm just going to put, a little bit, of glue at the ends here. And you notice I'm going off on the silicone mat, and that's okay. I'm just going to kind of dab those so that they're not super runny. I'm going to take my little embellishments. Notice I'm doing them in uneven numbers because I like uneven numbers. If you've seen any of my videos, you probably have figured that out by now. I'm just kind of sticking these in where they will fit and where they kind of look good. And notice I want them up. I don't want to glue those down. You can glue them down if you want, but I like having the extra dimension in there. This one I'm going angled at the side right there. Okay? Now, the last thing that you want to do is take out the little pearls that came in your paper pumpkin kit, and I'm going to put them randomly. I'm going to put one right here, yellow, another yellow, like, over here, a third yellow down here, it flips over. These can be finicky, and they want to cling to me. There we go. Now let's do 2 green. I'm going to put 1 green maybe down here, and then a green up there. There we go. That is our card. Is that not gorgeous? And you can put your envelope with it, stick it away, get ready to send it somewhere. You are going to make someone so happy. This is the time of year that everybody loves floral things and butterflies. So this is going to make everyone happy. And I guarantee if you send this to someone, it's going to make their day. Because how often do you have a butterfly holding your card shut? So go ahead, get crafting. Keep stamping, keep smiling, and we will see you in the next video. Bye now.